Good morning and welcome to Chentex Multimedia Live cast for Thursday, 1st of October. Yes, it's 1st of October. There have been 13 new cases of coronavirus in Victoria and 4 further deaths. Queensland is working on a COVID-19 test which would work in 60 seconds. That is wonderful news. Follow Chentex Multimedia on Facebook and YouTube for breaking news, coronavirus updates, and live streams from Australia and from around the world. Making news today, Victoria records 13 new COVID-19 cases and 4 further deaths. New South Wales records a 5th day without any locally acquired COVID-19 case. 6 key takeaways from the first presidential debate, and today that will take a fair bit of time as we are not going to play the full interview, but we are going to analyze that and play snippets of it which would be of very interest to each and every one of you. 2 men have been charged over alleged betting scam at Sydney Casino, and of course that breakthrough in the port standoff. But first, here is Tilraj Thiran with weather update for the first day of October.
Good morning everyone. Weather forecast for the rest of today is maximum 28 degree. Brisbane area is partly cloudy, medium chance of showers in the late morning and afternoon, chance of a thunderstorm during this afternoon and evening, light winds becoming north to northeasterly 15 to 25 km per hour in the middle of the day, then becoming light in the evening. Fire danger is high, sun protection is recommended till 2:50 p.m. and UV index is predicted to reach 8, that is very high. Till tomorrow, stay safe and have a good day.
And that is a wonderful news there with a lovely day as we look out the window there. So today is the 1st of October. 1st of October is United Nations Day of Older Persons. So what does it mean during this pandemic? This year, 2020 marks the 75th anniversary of United Nations and the 30th anniversary of International Day of Older Persons. This year has also seen the emergence of COVID-19, and that has caused an upheaval across the world, considering the higher risk confronted by older people during the outbreak of the pandemics such as COVID-19. So policy and programmatic interventions must be targeted towards raising awareness of their special needs. Recognizing and recognizing older persons' contributions to their own health and the multiple roles that they play in the preparedness for the response and phases of the current and future pandemics is very important. So it is very important what they do. So the 2020 observance will also promote the decade of healthy aging, 2020 till 2030. Well, 2020 hasn't started off very well, has it? If we look at the decade of healthy aging, and 2020 is what it is, but maybe by the time we reach 2020 we would have some things done. And to help bring together UN experts, civil societies, government and health professionals to discuss the 5 strategies and objectives of global strategy and action plan on aging and health. So these are the 5 key points that we're going to be discussing in the program, mainly for this year's aging with professionality is, number 1, inform participants about the strategic objectives of the decade of healthy aging. So the decade of healthy aging, which has begun from 2020, raise awareness of the special health needs of older people and their contributions to their own health and to the functioning of the societies in which they live. And that is very important. We found that these days older people are more active for longer than they used to be before. Increase awareness and appreciation of the role of the healthcare workforce in maintaining and improving the health of older persons, with special attention to the nursing profession, which is very important, our frontliners. And present proposals for reducing the health disparities between older persons in the developed and developing countries so as not to leave anyone behind. Increase understanding of the impact of COVID-19 on older persons and its impact on healthcare policy, planning and attitude. So, it is looking as a broad and a wider, right across the board approach, which will see, older people in better roles and looking at the better aging. And of course, the decade of aging, which has begun from this year, will go till 2030, and we'll see how it goes. Well, right now, let's go for the headlines for today. And after that, we will go to the United Nations and look at how they are addressing this decade.
Queensland is relaxing its border controls for parts of New South Wales this morning. Long queues are expected as residents of border areas are allowed to move between the 2 states. The step has been welcomed by businesses eager to make the most of the tourist trade. Queensland's relaxed borders haven't come soon enough for Flight Centre. The travel agency has announced it will close a further 90 stores across Australia. The company says 4,000 sales and support staff have been made redundant in the last 6 months. US President Donald Trump says he's never heard of the far-right group Proud Boys. The denial follows yesterday's election debate during which he refused to condemn the group. It was a bitter, chaotic exchange between Donald Trump and Democrat contender Joe Biden, and it's already prompted changes to the debate format. Preliminary TV ratings show that roughly 29 million Americans tuned in, about 15 million fewer than 4 years ago. Cardinal George Pell has arrived in Rome for the first time since being acquitted of child sex abuse convictions. The purpose and duration of Cardinal Pell's visit is unclear, but it coincides with an anti-money laundering evaluation at the Vatican. The Cardinal was previously in charge of reforming the Vatican's finances. After arriving at the airport, he's been driven to an apartment building and has told journalists it's lovely to be back.
That is the headlines for today. And as I mentioned before, that this year is the year of the International Day of Older Persons, but also the launch of the Decade of Healthy Aging. So here's the message from the Secretary General of United Nations.
The world marks the 30th anniversary of the International Day of Older Persons, as we reckon with the disproportionate and severe impact that the COVID-19 pandemic has wrought on older persons around the world, not only on their health, but on their rights and well-being. Older people must be a priority in our efforts to overcome COVID-19. In keeping with the theme of this year's commemoration, we must also examine how the pandemic might change how we address aging in our societies. Expanding opportunities for older persons and increasing their access to health, pensions and social protection will be crucial. This year's observance falls as the world is also marking the International Year of the Nurse and Midwife, which highlights the vital role of health and social workers, such as nurses and midwives, in responding to the pandemic. The majority of them are women, including many older persons. These are the people who devote their lives to our care and to the care of older persons, mothers and children, and deserve far greater support. As we seek to recover better together, We must make concerted efforts across the decade of healthy aging, 2020-2030, to improve the lives of older persons, their families and communities. The potential of older persons is a powerful basis for sustainable development. More than ever, we must listen to their voices, suggestions and ideas to build more inclusive and age-friendly societies.
And as mentioned before, that this year marks the 75th anniversary of the United Nations and the 30th anniversary of the International Day of Older Persons. And we've just heard from the Secretary General, and here's a promo on what we can do.
I love running because it's the way I grow. This non-stop demand of effort and discipline of breath and stride, and yeah, it's a wonderful thing.
Ricky Coughlin has been running for nearly 40 years.
Well, my favourite events were, I think, 400, 800, 1500, and I would compete up to state level.
Our first guest tonight featured in a Women's Day article last year, subtly titled Sex Change Athletes Private Hell.
In the early 90s, the middle distance runner made headlines, but it wasn't for winning races. Ricky was one of the first out transgender women in Australian sport.
Why do other competitors want to stop you running?
Well, I think it's perhaps the principle. I got very much outed. Someone with a long lens had been filming me, and we knew that was a Melbourne newspaper that was going to run the story. There's a great deal of trepidation going into all of this, and I thought, am I going to lose everything? Is everyone going to hate me, or what's going to happen? I really didn't know.
But now opportunities for women are being shoved aside for a new priority, transgender athletes.
Some transgender athletes say that calls to keep them out of the competition amount to hate speech.
The participation of transgender people in sport is still a contentious issue today, as the sports world attempts to create a fair and inclusive environment for all athletes.
Rugby's international governing body says it has concerns over player safety. It would be the first international sports federation to ban transgender women.
But some sports are charging ahead with inclusion policies.
And another very, very important message there as well. Well, the other breaking news was that Cardinal Pell has reached the Vatican. Let's take a look at that story as he arrives.
What's the purpose of the visit?
We hate you! We hate you!
And there we go. Some protesters there as well. But as the news was that, there's many unfinished business and many other things that he really needs to get done there. Well, right now, let's go to some of the local news and to New South Wales West.
We have had another day of zero community transmission, which is good news. However, 4 travellers are in hotel quarantine who've just been diagnosed. So there's 4 from overseas that are in hotel quarantine, but 0 community transmission. And I want to state from the outset, please do not assume this 0 number is going to continue indefinitely. Quite the opposite. We know the disease is lurking in the community, so I don't want anyone to be surprised if tomorrow or the day after we do get cases of community transmission. We're doing exceptionally well at this point, but we know the threat of the virus lurking in our existing community already is a high likelihood. And I also want to please ask people not to be complacent. I've noticed that when you're going around the community and when there's 0 cases overnight, that people are relaxing a little bit too much for my liking. So I encourage everybody, especially if you're in a venue, if you're with people you must maintain the social distancing, you must maintain the hand hygiene, and if you're in particular settings, we do recommend you wear that mask. And it's really important for everybody to stick to that, especially during the school holidays. We know this is a time for communities and families to go around the state. It's a time for people to have a bit of escape, especially those families who've been in their home surroundings for a long period of time. But we want to make sure that everybody is extra COVID safe.
And right now, we'll go to Victoria.
The most important thing here is, whilst people are free, of course, to make comparisons with other states and the number of active cases they had in a historic sense and what they might or might not have done at that point, it's really important, I think, that we just focus on that 14-day trend. If you pick a moment in time when another state, say New South Wales, was at about 300 or 350 active cases, that's not really a fair comparison at a point in time when we have 300 or 350 active cases. You've got to look at that 14-day trend that got you to that number. And we didn't have the sort of opening up that some people are urging. I understand why, but I also understand that it's not something we can do at the moment. We're very close. We've got 3 weeks to go before we can take big steps. But the notion of opening up at 16.4 cases per day in metropolitan Melbourne is not safe, it is not steady, and it will not last. I know these numbers are coming down, that's a great thing, and the temptation always is to perhaps read more into that than is there. You've got to do this in a steady way, and 16.4 cases, whilst it's the trend is with us and it's a fantastic result, that is not still low enough for us to be able to take those really big steps. The good news is, though, our modelling from multiple sources, as well as the actuals that are fed in every single day, confirm for all of us that we are on track, and all things being equal, we will be able to take a significant step in just 3 weeks' time. We're so close. It's a testament to the resilience and the commitment of every single Victorian, and it's something that we have to preciously guard so that we don't do too much too quickly. That would not be safe, that would not be steady, and that would not be lasting. And that's the last thing that anyone wants.
And not doing too much too quickly, and that is the key. Well, right now for our good news, young Indigenous leader Main Watt. In the continuing series of an emerging young Indigenous leaders, let's meet Main Watt.
For the first time, Australia has recognised the legal existence of... As Prime Minister of Australia, I am sorry.
My name is Main Watt. I'm a Wongatha Yamaji from Western Australia, Kalgoorlie. I'm an actor, writer, artist. Finding out I won the Packing Room Prize was exciting. And it's also been a good thing for my mum as well, because she was a finalist for the Archibald in 2003. So yeah, I think that's really been an exciting thing for her. The reason I went for the self-portrait was because I wanted to paint someone, for sure. But then, because I hadn't painted for so long, I didn't want to offend the person if the painting wasn't very good. So I decided to paint myself, because then the only person I've got to offend is me. I was taken back by that I and Vincent were the first Indigenous artists to win a prize in the prize's history, 99 years or whatever it was. As long as it opens the opportunity for other Indigenous artists to go forward, then that's a positive thing, but, it's taken too damn long.
You go to weddings, we go to funerals. No, you're not your ancestors. It's not your fault you have white skin, but you do benefit from it.
So I appeared on Q&A. I was asked to perform something from my play, and that ended up being a section of my monologue from my play City of Gold.
Sorry!
And it was a play that was semi-autobiographical and about my experience growing up in Kalgoorlie, losing my father, and how grief had, affected my life, and then good old racism.
A black man standing up for himself? Nah.
I think I was surprised by the positive reaction of it.
And that's an amazing story there. Actor, writer, and now artist after winning the Archibald Packing Room Prize this month with his self-portrait. Very, very well done. Well, right now, as we know, DFED has put out warning about people, Australian citizens traveling to China. But despite that, Australians are opting to stay in China.
I'm a walker. My daily step average will be shocked to hear is 33,000 steps a day.
After 20 years of living and doing business in China, these are uncertain times for Australian businessman Peter Arkell.
I think every time an Australian has a difficulty with the authorities here, I really do get worried about it. I feel very sad.
Good morning from Shanghai. There's been a little
Peter's old friend Michael Smith was a long-serving China correspondent for the Australian Financial Review. But at the beginning of September, he and ABC colleague Bill Birtles were forced to flee the country because they no longer felt safe.
I do know Mike Smith very well, and I was really worried when I got the phone call to say that Mike had to leave the country. I know Chung Lei, and I feel really sad that she is still being detained.
Australian journalist Chung Lei was detained by Chinese security authorities without explanation weeks earlier. Despite his fears for her, Peter says he's not feeling directly under threat.
As an Australian, I can, as a foreigner living here, I can move around China very freely. There are no restrictions whatsoever.
I feel for the journalists. I also have not had the opportunity to talk to them directly, so I don't know what the situation is.
Former actor turned TV host Heidi Dugan moved to China from Brisbane 24 years ago.
Hi, my name's Heidi. My name's Heidi. Heidi. 感觉怎么样？第一天上学。
She's become a star on Chinese state media. Currently back in Australia visiting family, she still sees.
So challenging times indeed. But with that, now we'll go for the key story for today, and that's the debate. Of course, I know everyone has watched the debate online, but if you haven't, we bring to you, the face-off on the first presidential debate before we go to other news. But, how the way we're going to do it is, we'll show you segments, and we picked out key points, the 6 key takeaways from the full debate to see that. So the first debate election showed the leadership choices on offer for next 4 years. So let's look at the fallout. Let's see how it all turned out.
I welcome you to the first of the 2020 presidential debates.
My son did nothing wrong at Burisma.
I think he did. Mr. President, let him answer.
He doesn't want to let me answer because he knows I have the truth.
Some people don't
do
a good job. With you,
go ahead. Wait a minute. You get the final word, Mr.
Well, it's hard to get any word in with this clown.
No, the answer to the question is no.
Ukraine.
No, sir.
With $1 billion, if you
that
get rid
is
of
absolutely not true.
You're going to have
true.
Gentlemen. I hate to raise my voice, but it seems to me, why should I be different than the two of you?
I'm not going to answer the question
Why would you answer that
because
question?
the question is
radical left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen.
Everything he's saying so far is simply a lie. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
You say that's the end of it? This is the end of this debate?
Honest ballot count.
We're going to leave it there. To be continued.
I'm just going to say it like it is. That was a shit show.
That was a hot mess inside a dumpster fire, inside a train wreck.
Oliver Laughland, normally one would ask who won a presidential debate, but where do you even start with this?
I mean, in any normal election cycle, I guess you'd be talking about winners and losers. It was pretty unclear to me who won that debate. The losers were very much the American public. There was no substantive discussion of any policy issue, which obviously, given this is widely regarded as the most consequential election.
And as we've seen that a lot of calls were there made on not only the leadership, but also about truthfulness, about who could be trusted. So they're both calling each other names. And of course, Joe Biden argued that Donald Trump could not be trusted, and especially not on coronavirus.
By the warm weather, it'd be gone. Miraculous, like a miracle. And by the way, maybe you could inject some bleach in your arm, and that would take care of it. This is the same man.
That was said sarcastically, you know that. That was said sarcastically.
And so here's the deal. This man is talking about a vaccine. Every serious company is talking about maybe having a vaccine done by the end of the year. But the distribution of that vaccine will not occur until sometime beginning or the middle of next year to get it out, if we get the vaccine. And pray God we will.
And talking about the vaccine, and if the vaccine is made available, well, of course, that's what we are looking at. And of course, as we know, our Prime Minister has promised that if the vaccine is discovered here, he'll make it available to the whole world. Well, right now, then after that exchange of blows, Donald Trump and Joe Biden trade insults at the first U.S. presidential debate. So, after those exchange of words, then they go into insults.
Will you shut up, man? Listen, who is on your list, Joe? Who's on your list?
Right. Gentlemen, I think
this
we've
is
ended
so
this.
He's going to pack the court. Did you use the word smart? So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot the name of your college. You didn't go to Delaware State. You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
Oh, give me a break.
Because you know what? There's nothing smart about you, Joe.
We handed him a booming economy. He blew it.
It wasn't
booming.
Blew it.
He blew it.
It wasn't booming. It was, wait,
number two.
Chris,
number three.
They said it would take. No, you're on number two.
You get the final word, Mr.
Well, it's hard to get any word in with this clown. Excuse me.
Hey, let me just say to
you. No. I'm Mr. President.
So the poor moderator there, and as Donald Trump Jr. said to Joe Biden that he went to, that when he went to school, he was, either the last or the second last in the class. He said, there's nothing smart about you, and you don't even remember the school. So he said, there's just nothing smart about you. So, what I debate and looking at the moderator, some people say that, was the debate between these two, or was were they actually debating the moderator himself? Well, right now, the next segment of that is where Joe Biden calls Trump a liar and a clown. Let's hear that clip.
I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar. But folks, do you have any idea what this clown's doing?
They call it
do you have any do?
Socialized medicine.
Mr. President.
I'll tell you what, he is not for any help for people needing health care. Because he, in fact, already has cost 10 million people their health care that they had from their employers because of his recession. Number one. Number two, there are 20 million people getting health care through Obamacare now that he wants to take it away. He won't ever look you in the eye and say that's what he wants to do. Take it away.
And there we go about the health care. And next up, Chris Wallace, who is the moderator, he asked Donald Trump about his tax returns. And that's the much talked about matter at the moment.
I know that you pay a lot of other taxes, but I'm asking you the specific question. Is it true that you paid $750 in federal income taxes each of those 2 years?
I paid millions of dollars in taxes, millions of dollars of income tax. And let me just tell you, there was a story in one of the papers. I paid $38 million 1 year. I paid $27 million.
Show us your tax returns.
I went. You'll see it as soon as it's finished. You'll see it. If you want to go to the Board of Elections. There's a 118-page or so report that says everything I have, every bank I have, I'm totally under-leveraged because the assets are extremely good. And I built
Sir,
a great company.
I'm asking you a specific question, which is...
But let me tell you...
I understand all of that. I understand all of that. No, Mr. President.
Go ahead.
I'm asking you a question. Will you tell us how much you paid in federal income taxes in 2016 and 2017?
Millions of dollars.
You paid millions of dollars?
Millions of dollars,
So
yes.
not $750?
Millions of dollars, and you'll get to see it. You'll get to see it.
So there you go. Millions of dollars. Well, was Trump actually debating Biden or the moderator? That's in the next segment. But right now, what does he reply? His reply is stand back and stand by.
Are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
Are you
I'm
prepared
willing
to specifically
do it?
Well, go ahead, sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it.
Do you want to call them? What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
Who would you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right-wing militias.
stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left-wing.
So there you go. And was he actually, debating Biden or the moderator? Let's have a look at that clip.
Over the last 4 years, you have promised to repeal and replace Obamacare, but you have never in these 4 years come up with a plan, a comprehensive plan to replace Obamacare.
Of course I have.
Well,
I got rid of the individual mandate.
I'm going to give you an opportunity.
I got rid of the individual mandate, which was a big chunk of
Obamacare.
That is absolutely a big thing. That was the worst part of Obamacare.
Sir,
Chris, that was the worst part of Obamacare.
Let me ask my question.
Well, I'll ask Joe. The individual mandate was the most unpopular aspect of Obamacare. I got rid of it.
I'd like you
and we will protect people with
President, I'm the moderator of this
conditions.
debate, and I would like you to let me ask my question, and then you can answer your question.
Go ahead. It's too expensive. Premiums are too high, and it doesn't work. So we do want to get rid of it. Chris, we want to get rid of it.
I understand it, sir, but I have to give you roughly equal time. Please let the Vice President talk.
Good.
I want to move on to another subject. I want to move on to another subject.
But those states are not doing well that are shut down right now.
Respond to that. President Trump, I'm asking you a specific question, which is...
Let me tell you.
I understand all of that. I understand all of that. No, Mr. President, I'm asking you a question. Will you tell us how much you paid in federal income taxes? All right, that's the end of the segment. We're moving on.
He didn't take them.
Well,
Vice President,
no. Can I be honest? It's a very important
question. Try to be honest.
He stood up.
No, the answer to the question is no.
Ukraine.
No, sir.
With $1 billion, if you
that is absolutely not true.
You're going to have
true.
Gentlemen. I hate to raise my voice, but it seems to be, why shouldn't I be different than the two of you? So here's the deal.
Good point.
We have 6 segments. We have ended that segment. We're going to go to the next segment. Mr. President,
every record in the
Mr. President, you're going to be very happy because we're now going to talk about law and order.
Places we had trouble were Democratic-run cities.
That's exactly my question. There has been a dramatic increase. Mr. President, your campaign agreed to both sides would get 2-minute answers uninterrupted. Well, your side agreed to it, and why don't you observe what your campaign agreed to as a ground rule, okay, sir?
He never keeps his word.
So there you go, as it happened, and I wouldn't like to be in that moderator's seat, as much as I like moderating, but oh my God, yeah, being placed in that one, it's a hot seat. How did they do? How did the whole of the debate and how was it handled? CNN commentators heavily criticized that.
A lot of the Biden supporters who are going into this debate fairly nervous. The former vice president clearly showed up. Jake, a lot to analyze and discuss.
Well, that was a hot mess inside a dumpster fire, inside a train wreck. That was the worst debate I have ever seen. In fact, it wasn't even a debate. It was a disgrace. And it's primarily because of President Trump, who spent the entire time interrupting, not abiding by the rules that he agreed to, lying, maliciously attacking the son of the vice president. When asked to condemn white supremacists, he brought up the name of a neo-fascist far-right group and said, stand back and stand by. We'll talk about who won the debate, who lost the debate, but I can tell you one thing for sure. The American people lost tonight because that was horrific.
You just took the words out of my mouth. You used some high-minded language. I'm just going to say it like it is. That was a show. And, we're on cable. We can say that. Apologies for being maybe a little bit crude, but that is really the phrase that I'm getting, from people on both sides of the aisle on text, and it's the only phrase that I can think of to really describe it. And I couldn't agree with you more, Jake.
So there you go. CNN says that was one of the worst debates they have seen. Well, right now, let's take a commercial break. GlobeNet Realty.
GlobeNet Realty. GlobeNet Realty has been the longest established, Trusted and respected agency in its trade area, Washa Chandra, Director of GlobeNet Realty, provides honest and ethical service to her customers. If you are thinking of investing in Brisbane real estate market, or if you are seeking professional property management, then you should contact Usha Chandra today on landline 3865 4466 or mobile 0419 775 416. And for further updates, log on to our website www.globenetralty.com.au. GlobeNet Realty is your own local real estate agency. Situated at Shop 52281 Sandgate Road, Boondall. GlobeNet Realty. Real estate is our world.
Real estate is the world, and don't forget that all the open houses happening this weekend and the $5,000 giveaway competition that's happening as well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now let's continue with the news. And locally, we have to have our keen eyes out looking for big injection of infrastructure study and maybe be shovel ready as well.
The future in China.
Personal safety, I've always felt incredibly safe in Shanghai. That has never been something that I've been worried about.
The federal government spent tens of billions of dollars on economic life support since the COVID crisis began, with measures like JobKeeper and JobSeeker. Those assistance packages are now winding back, with the promise infrastructure projects will help with critical jobs recovery and economic growth. But even the Reserve Bank's concerned not enough is being spent. So keen eyes will be looking for a big injection of infrastructure spending in next week's budget, far beyond the $100 billion program already promised last year. Rachel Papazzoni reports.
Deep beneath Sydney's streets and famed harbour, work on the New South Wales Government's multi-billion-dollar Metro Rail project is heading towards its final destination.
This will become the Martin Place station in Australia's biggest infrastructure project. This is the kind of work the federal government is under pressure to reveal in next week's budget.
Last year, the Morrison government announced a $100 billion infrastructure fund over the next decade when it had its eye on bringing the budget back to black. Those surplus aspirations have now evaporated, and the focus now is on job creation and pulling us.
The focus now is on job creation, and that's where the focus will be. So let's take a look with this interview with Malcolm Turnbull. He's speaking after the Renewable Energy Summit, and let's see, what's his take on this.
Well, one of New South Wales' most controversial energy projects, Santos's $3.6 billion Narrabri coal seam gas field, has been approved. The company's proposal for 850 gas wells said it would bring down gas prices. Former Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull rubbishes that claim. Speaking after the Renewable Energy Summit, Mr Turnbull says cheap energy must be a key plank of the government's budget plans if it wants its manufacturing bonanza. Malcolm Turnbull, to start with the news of today, New South Wales has approved the Narrabri coal seam gas project. What do you make of this decision?
Well, that's an environmental planning decision. I can't really comment on that. The point that I've made about Narrabri is that while it will increase the supply of gas in New South Wales, it is not cheap gas, as AGL has said. The cost of extraction alone is about $6.40 a gigajoule, and so by the time that gets to a customer, be it a power generator or a manufacturer, it's going to be a lot. It's going to be more than that, obviously. So it's certainly to our advantage to have more gas available on the East Coast. We went through a period of real shortage a few years ago, as you remember. But the important thing to stress is that there is no cheap gas bonanza coming along. We simply don't have cheap gas available on the East Coast other than temporarily as a result of a market slump. The global recession we're going through at the moment has obviously seen oil and gas come down in price. But gas companies are not going to open up and operate fields if they are operating them at a loss, at least not for any sustainable period.
So do you think in time that this asset may become stranded? I mean, given the cost of renewables coming right down, that's the future of investment, particularly for most of the energy companies, and there is other gas available on the East Coast.
Well, at least there are some applications for gas for which there aren't obvious alternatives. I mean, if you need it for feedstock to make fertilisers, if you need it for thermal heat, a lot of processors prefer to use gas rather than electricity for thermal heat. There are a lot of industrial requirements for it. But in terms of...
So we leave that interview there where Mr. Malcolm Turnbull says that cheap energy must be the key plank for government's budget plans if it wants its manufacturing bonanza. So, a very insightful look at the situation as well. And as I mentioned a few days back, about fuel that, yes, that is needed, but the production of fuel and the way, things are produced always raises a lot of questions there as well. Well, as we know, there's been changes to the JobKeeper, Job Seeker as well. And of course, mortgage and loan repayment deferrals, they are coming to an end. So the moratorium will be coming to an end. This is a signal that we are on the tip of turning around the corner. Into the recovery mode, into that phase. So there are a lot of things that people have enjoyed during this time as far as deferring rent payments, mortgage payments, or lease payments on higher purchases, etc. Now is the time to finalize before the rules ease again, and whereas you will not have that chance to negotiate during that time. So here's our lead out story for today about the mortgage and loan repayment deferrals, which are about to end.
What do you say to the bank when you're not going to have any money coming in, and you're literally pleading to be able to keep your house?
For thousands of Australians who deferred their mortgage repayments with the debt holiday almost over, now is crunch time.
Even though it's out of my control, it's feeling like I'm failing.
We're talking about nearly $200 billion of loans which were deferred.
I go past Centrelink once a week and I look at the people all lining up there and I'm like, am I going to be one of those people?
When I walk into that space, I just feel really sad. It's just sad to see it empty and being wasted. So many people could be using it right now. My name's Nikki Abercrombie. I'm a mum and a business events manager. I have a small business here in Newcastle.
When bookings for business events plummeted due to social distancing measures, Nikki was forced to lay off one of her staff members.
It was devastating. They understood, but it was, we cried together. It was awful, yep.
Her mortgage is $415,000 with an average monthly repayment of $1,800.
So now, as has been mentioned, is the crunch time. And of course, there's so many lessons to be learned out of this pandemic. If you look at the way the government subsidized employers to keep employees employed, maybe a look into the future as well of coming up with some innovative ideas where this could be going on an ongoing situation whereby government is paying social security benefits as well, but if it can be channeled in and utilized in maybe a better and more productive manner as well, so that you can get people out into the field whole of Australia can become more productive and hence become more competitive in the world market as well. So, there have been lessons that have been learned. We have seen that even on JobKeeper or JobSeeker, people have enjoyed some of the privileges which enhances the living standards and enhances the lifestyle of many people. So there are some hard decisions to be made there as well, and some key findings that we can take with us. So ladies and gentlemen, that's the show for today. Right now, let's take a look at some of the functions and events taking place. Remember, a lot of these are still taking place online or virtually. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, I need to say goodbye from today's show. It's been wonderful having your company. It's always so good to see you. And of course, your comments and everything on the show is really, really appreciated. Now, don't forget that this Saturday, for our show, we will have a studio guest, not telling you the name now, the studio guest, and we will be discussing Gandhi Jayanti in detail as well. And on Saturday night, we'll be broadcasting live from BMAC for Asu Babu Memorial Concert, the annual concert by Shane Flanell and his students. So this year, only a limited number of people are allowed to attend. So we will, the concert will take place live, but it will be, live casted via Australian Indian Radio. So don't forget to tune in to that segment as well. And this will be the first of the live telecast from a location that we do. We have brought to you clips from while broadcasting from the studios here. We have brought clips which have been sent back from sites to have been included in our programs before, but this would be the first time we'll do a full live cast from a location. It's quite interesting. We are geared up for that and looking forward to your company on Saturday night with that. So until the time and until tomorrow, it's goodbye from me. Be good, have a wonderful day, but most important, stay safe.